Alright guys, welcome back to Hump Day. So I'm pretty much finished with the Jet. I've got all the forward section ran. I typically don't mount the GCUs in the models, considering you can do terminal or telemetry so easily these days. And you know, you can plug it in when you need it and when you don't. But this one I went ahead because I got this forward section here and I thought maybe I would need the weight. I went ahead and added it. It's just two-sided taped in there. I ran a lead back. I've got the throttle lead done. I actually powered up the turbine last night and kind of ran through the menus a little bit. I don't know anything about Schwinn. I do know I should have jumped on their bandwagon when they came to town, because they were looking for a guy here in the U.S. to do what Andy is doing with them now, before I became the Jet Munt / now Zykoy guy. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. But seem to be good motors. They're very popular, reasonably priced. This is my first one. We didn't have anything in the Zykoy lineup that is big enough, so I got a Schwinn 300. Thanks, Andy. Schwinn USA, he's out of New York. Good guy. But I went ahead. This is the pin switch right here. I just took the flag off of it. This is it's an AR pin flag, and it also, you can get a light, but I'm not using the light. And I just put a different end on it and plug it in to the power system, because these DLPH 1 and 2s use a failsafe type switch, kind of like the Spectrum did. You literally can unplug the switch and it powers it up. So it failsafes on, and you short it, makes it go out. 2 fill ports, brake, gear. The door on the nose is electric, and that's really the air brakes or paddle boards, speed brakes are electric as well. So I only needed the 2. I always like to keep brakes separate, you know, because if you get a little crazy, and brakes always seem like you end up over time end up leaking around the bar because it's down on the gear. It's constantly flexing, so I always try to keep them separate. Everything else you can kind of combine if you want. But anyways, so I also added the dry fill ports that I got from that I mentioned before. Got a little clamp here, so everything's in. I kind of set the batteries in there. I'll figure out that I need to get a 3-cell LiPo for this. I don't have one for this motor. So depending on what kind of weight I need, if I need to add nose weight, I can just go with a bigger turbine battery. Made the lead for the GSU running forward. There's your throttle. There's a lead that you can put for telemetry, and I'll make one single lead and run it up to, I might can run it through this. I think I can run into the S-Bus 2 port here, and it might go to my it might send it out to the receivers. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But if not, I'll just run it down and plug it into an S-Bus 2 port on the receiver, which primary and secondary. And that's it. Everything else is connected, man. It's ready to go. I just gotta come up with batteries. I made the other 2 leads. I got 2 leads going to the Cortex, and then the leads from the Cortex up to the receivers. So that's done. So now it is cockpit time, and I'm going kind of quick because I didn't charge the battery on this. So essentially what I'm doing is disassemble cleanup. So if you've ever owned a Skymaster, you will know that their cockpits absolutely suck. You pay $200 to $400 for a cockpit that looks like a daggum infant put it together with finger paint. No lie. That being said, these being bigger cockpits, it allowed them to do more of like a wood type interlocking thing. It's not very scale. They didn't glue it very well. It's popping apart, which is kind of why I'm taking everything apart. I'm going to paint these gray after I trim and get them fitted, but all the little pieces I did like were held in with screws. But it's already popping loose in areas, and when, you know, because they they glued it or painted it, then glued it. So I'm gonna go back and re-glue joints because they're kind of interlocking, kind of like you see on firewalls of fuselages of airplanes. And I'm gonna paint these gray. I originally said I was gonna leave these brown, but I don't know. I might just paint the seats white because in this, like, so they're horrible. Look at this. Like they're already cracked in the corners and stuff. It's just plastic. The seats are just plastic. This one, it was broke and cracked, and they just put a piece of tape on it. And I'm like, yeah, that's what you pay for, right? And you can kind of see the cheap little seats, like cracked already. But again, you know, I've talked about cockpits in the past. So what I don't like is these guys. So these are these little side panels that they have that go in on the side, and these are just resin. And the problem with just resin, I mean, they serve their purpose. They're just kind of give it a little look, but they're so damn heavy because they print them and make them so thick. Like this is the cockpit, and I've already kind of taken. They had like all these screws, but it's like a 3-piece. You got a piece of light ply on the back. You got a printed instrument panel on picture paper, and then you got this big thick resin panel, and between this one and this one, I've already disassembled it. I mean, you can see it, like that stuff's thick, and then this side's really thin, this side's really thick, so they don't do a very good job. But these two, just these two, and I took the clear pieces, like, so they put these were what was inside, these little clear pieces that they had put over the instruments. They're kind of hard to see, but I removed those. If I want a clear piece over, I'll just get a piece of clear film. You don't need plastic, you know. And then they sandwiched them all together. All this was over half a pound of weight. Wasteful. I mean, you don't need. I mean, now if you need the weight for CG, great. But when you're trying to keep the weight down in a model, this is the kind of crap that really can help. So I'm not going to lose over half a pound, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these, I'm going to put these on my belt sander, and I'm going to sand these things down to, you know, take a couple millimeters off and lose some weight. But I have in the past, I have literally ditched these and just made my own. You know, take the pattern, lay it down, trace it on a piece of light ply, and cut it out, and bam, you've got a cockpit. And you can literally make something looks just like this, if not better, in like a quarter of a pound versus over half a pound. So you can lose some weight here. And I mean, like I said, this is me being picky, but I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, that's just, gosh, it's heavy. I'm gonna mix up some, because the CA is not gonna work on this. I'd have to send off the glue. I already tried it, and the glue kind of basically just bubbles up and pulls right back off. So I'm gonna mix up some epoxy, and I'm just gonna run it along this edge, because really what I'm trying to do is stiffen these up, because they're gonna be supported. I'm gonna put them in the canopy, and the canopy is obviously removable, but I'm gonna put the buckets and pilots inside the canopy. So it's gonna be hard to show you guys this, but it'll essentially be suspended up in here. So they'll be up on this lip right here, like that. And then when you take the canopy, because you got two long wires that you pull out from the nose, and that releases the canopy. And when you do that, the canopy will come off. It'll take the buckets with it and the pilots. And then when you need to set it down, you set it on the buckets versus on the canopy. I did this on my last one. It worked great. Makes it real easy to do things. I do glue the front instrument panel. God, see, these are even heavy, but at least it's beefier plastic. But even that being said, you can already see how it's melted. These will melt in the sun. So you either need to keep your jet out of the sun, or you fiberglass it. I even thought about just doing some spray foam in here, which will take the shape of it to keep it from doing that. But I typically don't put my jets in the sun. And if I do, I cover the canopy up. But this part will be trimmed and glued in up here. And what sucks is because of these type of material, you have to be really careful trimming it because it breaks and cracks. So you almost have to use some type of cutting wheel, high RPM cutting like the Dremel, and trim this that way, because if you try to cut it with scissors, it will crack and chip and break. Very brittle stuff. But this will be mounted in the front, and then when you put your cockpit on, it'll just sit down in here like this. Like I said, it's got to be trimmed, and this will stay in here like this. And then when you take the canopy out, it just comes out, and this will stay in. And the instrument panels will be in there as well. So that's what I'm working on. I'm gonna go right now. I'm gonna mix up some glue, run over these joints, because like I said, with it popping apart like this, it's got to be supported, so it's going to be suspended. So if this is, see, it's already pulling apart, you're going to get droop, and it's going to, your portion holding the pilot's going to fall into the jet and break away, because I'm going to have some pilots in here. So that's what I'm working on now. So I'm going to stop this video, mix up some glue, do that real quick, and then I'm going to start trimming. And once I get them trimmed and fitted into the cockpit or the canopy, I'm going to pull them back out, paint them, and then I'll final install. So, but also got to go get a workout in. I'll try to work out at least 3 times a week. Got to stay moving, stay healthy, but I got to finish my coffee first. So you guys have a good one, and I'm going to get back to it. Cheers.